The wife who pushed her husband to strive for success and the idle husband himself, we both reincarnated. Pei Lingce, I won't study. I won't take the imperial exams. Me, useless. This lifetime, no one cares about you. I'm climbing a higher branch. Main text, the moment I opened my eyes, I knew I'd reincarnated. Pei Lingce made a shushing gesture. This time, don't pledge yourself to me. I stared at my damp sleeve. We'd returned to the moment we first met when I fell into the water last life. Fine. Since you were such a good-for-nothing last time, this time I'll definitely climb a higher branch. Pei Lingce's cheeks flushed crimson. He carried me to the pavilion by the embankment, tossed me onto a bench, then pulled out a handkerchief from somewhere and began wiping me down without a word. Who in the capital doesn't know I'm a good-for-nothing playboy, the scourge of the Pei family? You, with your snobbish eyes, ruined a poor scholar's betrothal. Without checking the facts, you schemed to marry me. I turned my head away, unwilling to argue with Pei Lingce. In my previous life, the methods I used to enter the prestigious Pei family, a lineage of 3 generations of meritorious service, were indeed unscrupulous. Then you must help me climb the social ladder. I grinned, hooking my arm around Pei Lingce's neck. As the saying goes, a day as husband and wife brings 100 days of affection. You've certainly experienced my benefits in bed. Pei Lingce's ears flushed crimson, and he hastily pushed my hand away. That was because you pushed me too hard to take the imperial exams. I wanted to divorce you, but you drugged me and used underhanded tricks to defile me. But you seem to enjoy it. Otherwise, why still spend your days cockfighting and dog racing instead of studying to pass the exams and become an official? Pei Lingce grew irritated, trying to shake me off. Here we go again. Which poor soul have you set your sights on? I'll arrange your marriage, just don't ever set foot in the Pei Marquisate again. I pondered long and hard. The regent prince, He Yuan, would be a good match. In my previous life, I had been married into the Marquisate for less than 7 years when chaos erupted. Starving corpses littered the fields. The towering dog-roamed tribe slaughtered 17 cities in half a year. He Yuan, a descendant of exiled criminals from the distant frontier, emerged unexpectedly. Within a month, he drove the dog-roam beyond the border, married his sister to broker peace, and secured tranquility for the people. But the regent prince harbored hatred toward the aristocratic clans. Later beheaded officials to sacrifice to the heavens and infect various outlaws as feudal lords. The aristocratic families underwent a major purge, and the Pei household was no exception. Pei Lingce and I fell into disgrace overnight, surviving for half a year on the personal silver I had hidden beneath a large locust tree outside the capital. I couldn't help urging Pei Lingce to enlist. Turbulent times breed heroes. Let's change our identities and seek fortune in the regent prince's army. Pei Lingce remained silent. I knew he'd been a pampered young master too long. Pride was his downfall. That day, I simmered a pot of lamb and potato stew, presenting it reverently with both hands to offer him a way out. With a little coaxing, he agreed. That night, as I slipped out of my silk robes, I still coaxed him in my arms to pursue his fortune. Pei Lingce's face darkened, his chest heaving violently. This mutton soup is poisoned. We both reincarnated after food poisoning. When we opened our eyes again, we decided to part ways amicably. I would seek my own high perch. Him? Whether he chose to continue his reckless pursuits or reform himself to study diligently, aiming for the imperial examinations and a government post someday, it was none of my concern. Pei Lingce's eyes widened. Can't you be more realistic? Regent Prince He Yuan kills without batting an eye, and most crucially, he avoids women entirely. How could he possibly be charmed by you? I let out a soft click of my tongue. I am being perfectly realistic. Having been reborn, of course I'll marry the future emperor and become the most exalted woman under heaven. To shake me off completely, Pei Lingce gritted his teeth. Fine, I'll help you. In our past life, I failed to meet your expectations for a husband. Once this matter is settled, I'll owe you nothing more. It was still the 4th year of Yuan Qing. I had recently used connections at the Imperial Music Bureau to shed my identity as a courtesan. Pei Lingce had arranged for someone to investigate and locate the government office where He Yuan was imprisoned. Go. He signaled me to hurry to the gate and beat the drum to cry injustice. Injustice! This humble maiden must plead for her betrothed. The censor hurried out. Who is making this commotion? Kneeling at the censor's feet, I wept bitterly. This humble maiden cries injustice for her betrothed, He Yuan, bound by a promise since birth. I beg your honor to release young Master He Yuan. In broad daylight, someone beating the drum for justice drew a growing crowd of passers-by. They cracked sunflower seeds, watching the spectacle. My sobs left me gasping for breath. Pei Lingce feigned passing by, casually pushing his way to the front of the crowd. Why, isn't this my distant cousin? Let the imperial censor help you with whatever troubles you face. The censor's face twisted in discomfort. After stammering for a long moment, he closed the courthouse gates. He clutched a heavy pouch of gold and a stack of land deeds. Your Highness, though Mr. He is a distant branch of the He clan, a family of fallen ministers, if his connection is ever uncovered. Pei Lingce's eyes darkened. I vouch for him. 7 long years remained before my kingdom fell and my family was destroyed. I took He Yuan in, settling him in my small courtyard outside the capital. After his prison ordeal, he lay unconscious for 4 full days without stirring. I took up my brush again to write to Pei Lingce. My lord, how have you fared these days? I think of you night and day, my thoughts filling my waking and sleeping hours. Might I request your presence at my small courtyard in Wangjing for a brief meeting? I was boiling water, gathering soap berries to place by the table, preparing to comb through He Yuan's tangled dark hair. Hoofbeats sounded beyond the fence. I set down the soap berries and hurried out to greet him. Pei Lingce, can you find me a physician skilled in bringing the dying back to life? He swung himself down from his horse. The jade ornaments at his waist tinkled softly. Are you gravely ill? Pei Lingce's brow furrowed deeper. Why didn't you send someone to the home mansion for me sooner? My fingertips still dripping, I instinctively pulled out a silk handkerchief to wipe the sweat from his forehead. His body stiffened abruptly, and I snapped to attention, quickly withdrawing my hand. Pei Lingce hurried into the house. I scurried after him in small steps. He Yuan has been unconscious for 4 days, refusing any food or drink. Pei Lingce halted abruptly, turning to confront me with disbelief. You let him sleep here? I froze in place. Is that not acceptable? Pei Lingce snorted lightly, raising an eyebrow. This is where we once lived. Do you find it suitable? It dawned on me, Pei Lingce truly thought ahead more than I did. I tapped my palm. He Yuan will one day be the regent prince. He must have ambition and value propriety. Placing him in a suburban courtyard is both crude and disrespectful. Pei Lingce tossed me a bag of gold ingots. Dump He Yuan out. He's not sleeping here. For the sake of the money, I held my tongue. Pei Lingce hoisted He Yuan onto his shoulder, flung him carelessly onto a haystack outside the courtyard, patted himself off, and swung onto his horse. Fearing he'd abandon me to ruin my future fortune, I urged, remember to find a competent physician to treat young Master He. Pei Lingce urged his horse into a gallop, his voice cold and mocking as he rode off. What's the rush? He won't die. He Yuan truly wouldn't die. The physician prescribed a formula. I spent every last coin in my savings on sacks of precious herbs. Each day, I tended the cauldron, carefully simmering the mixture before feeding it to He Yuan. After 2 months, his lingering ailments vanished completely. By his own account, his physique had even grown stronger than before. The lease on the courtyard I rented with Pei Lingce's gold ingots was about to expire. Running my fingers over my empty purse, I hesitantly spoke to He Yuan. I heard your grandfather made his fortune in Jiangzhou. The ancestral home of the He family's collateral branch, nestled by mountains and rivers, is said to be breathtakingly beautiful. I'd like to see it. Truthfully, it was still too early to go to Jiangzhou, but I simply couldn't afford to keep supporting He Yuan anymore. It was time to return to his hometown and live off his family. He Yuan's eyes flickered with a dark, shifting light. He remained silent for a long while. Just as I was growing impatient, he spoke in a faint, distant tone. Very well. But on the journey back to Jiangzhou, bandits may roam the roads. Would you run be afraid? I saved your life, and you still won't take me to meet your parents? Playing these games? I endured it. After all, I was the woman destined to be the future empress. To the ends of the earth, I will follow you willingly. I offered an impeccable smile, speaking with grace. The day we left Wangjing, the wind howled and rain poured down. He Yuan made a trip into the capital. When he returned, he had several extra bundles bulging with gold ingots. I turned a blind eye and asked no questions. A regent who could suddenly carve out a realm amidst a shattered nation 7 years later must have many unspeakable dealings behind the scenes. A man must be both deaf and dumb to rule the household. My sole concern was securing my future position as empress. Everything else was none of my business, best to pretend ignorance. We had traveled over 70 li beyond Wanjing. In the pitch-black rain-soaked night, the whistling of arrows pierced the air. I yanked open the carriage curtain. A fierce battle erupted in the dense forest ahead, swords clashed, spears flew, arrows rained down. The horses reared in fright. I tumbled head over heels into Yuan's embrace. The man beneath me bore an arrow in his shoulder, his throat straining against a muffled groan. "Stay close to me." Arrows still rained down upon our carriage. With no time for hesitation, I crouched before Yuan, burying my head deep within the folds of his wide sleeves. I lost track of time as my legs went numb. My head rested in Yuan's palm, and I drifted into a weary sleep. Dawnlight began to seep through the cliff's edge. A hand yanked the curtain open. The sudden glare stung my eyes, and I snapped awake. Before me stood Pei Lingce, his face dark as rain. He summoned Yuan to discuss matters outside. I tried to follow, but my legs had long since gone numb. I stumbled backward with a cry. A strong arm caught me. Pei Lingce gritted his teeth. "Lady, mind your step." I shot Pei Lingce a glare. He released my hand, disdainfully brushing away non-existent dust before turning away. After half a month traveling eastward, we reached the border of Jiangzhou. Members of the He clan came to greet us. That evening, a banquet with pipa music was held. Yuan sat in the seat of honor. Every guest approached him with respectful congratulations and toasts, their words brimming with flattery. I was thoroughly satisfied. This was secure. It seemed Yuan had long since secretly woven a web of power. Once I secured the position of primary wife, should chaos erupt, I would become the regent princess. How far could the most exalted position of empress be? Yuan's eyes were dark and dull, I could sense his lack of enthusiasm. Yet, I watched him exchange cups and converse with all manner of flatterers, handling each interaction with consummate skill. I whispered into Yuan's ear, "I'll fetch some sobering soup." The excuse was a cover, the real reason was seizing this rare chance to speak privately with Pei Lingce. Seeing Pei Lingce leave his seat, I followed him out. "Pei Lingce, why did you come to Jiangzhou?" I pushed him impatiently. "Tonight, we drunk plenty of strong liquor." His eyes were slightly bloodshot. He lowered his gaze and watched me silently for a long moment. "After rebirth, you're only allowed to climb high branches, but I'm forbidden to change my mind one day and seize the moment to secure a better place for myself?" That made sense. I looked at Pei Lingce again and again, a flicker of certainty rising within me. Fine, fine. You've finally grown up. All that urging in my past life wasn't for nothing. I entered the banquet hall carrying a bowl of sobering soup. A small pleasure boat swayed toward us. The soft glow of the moonlight spilled across the strings of the pipa player's instrument. Yuan's deep, piercing eyes fixed on me as he curved his lips into a faint smile. You were once a singer in the Imperial Music Bureau. How about performing a song for our distinguished advisors? All eyes turned to me. Their gazes brimmed with scorn and derision. I froze in place, my body burning with humiliation. In that moment, even the title of the most esteemed empress in the realm seemed less appealing. Behind me, countless bowstrings whistled into tension. Pei Lingce strolled over, arms casually crossed, his voice dark and menacing. "She's no street singer. Why torment her like this?" I thought to myself, in this lifetime, at this point in time, I had only recently left the Imperial Music Bureau. The others truly believed I was a street singer. I offered a dry smile. Having caught a chill recently, my voice is not at its best. I shall dance light in the palm for you all. In truth, I hadn't caught a cold. It was simply that after marrying Pei Lingce in my previous life, I had never sung again. I had long forgotten the melodies I learned in my youth. Only the dance light in the palm remained, the one Pei Lingce loved to watch most. On each of his birthdays, after lanterns floated into the moonlit night, I danced this solo for him alone. "You won't dance." As I rose, Pei Lingce gritted his teeth, drawing his bow taut and aiming it at He Yuan. You think you're worthy to watch? I frowned, locking eyes with Pei Lingce across the room. His gaze was thick with menace. This man was prone to such outbursts. He Yuan sat stiffly in the seat of honor, his face dark and sullen. Suddenly, he smiled. How could a mere dancer from the Imperial Music Bureau cause the Marquis's heir such displeasure? He Yuan narrowed his eyes at me, his lips slowly curving upward. You may leave with Prince Pei. I froze. Before even reaching the He family's ancestral home, He Yuan was already dismissing me. Truly unreliable. I immediately drew upon my acting skills, welling up tears and running out in a heartbroken display. Sky lanterns rose into the horizon. Crouching by the small river, Pei Lingce strolled over, twirling a pampas grass seed in his fingers. You've barely studied a few days, how could you outplay that scheming fox He Yuan? I buried my face in my knees, but I was just trying to climb a higher branch. Pei Lingce scoffed coldly, you'd better go back to Wangjing quietly. As long as I live, I'll give you silver every day. I shot Pei Lingce a dissatisfied look. It's precisely because of your lazy attitude that you couldn't protect yourself in the last life, dragging me down with you to death. He suddenly leaped up. Wasn't it you who poisoned us both with that mutton soup? I waved my hand impatiently. Enough. This is annoying. The year before the Great Zhao Empire fell, the emperor permitted women to take the imperial examinations. Those who passed could enter the court as officials. No man is reliable. I must secure an official post for myself. That way, when the empire collapses, He Yuan won't slaughter all the officials, and I'll survive just fine. I brushed dust from my skirt and stood. I'm studying to become an official. Pei Lingce raised an eyebrow. Not pressuring me anymore? Now you're pressuring yourself? I held out my hand. Give me money. Pei Lingce and He Yuan's alliance shattered over a woman. When news reached Wangjing, the heir to the marquisate came to seek Pei Lingce's counsel. He removed his armor, packed it into a chest, and handed it to the visitor. Safeguard my father's general's robe. Not a single scratch. And tell him, Chu Yuruin and I have no future. She finds me utterly repulsive. The messenger's face turned grim. Young master, the general said you would inherit his legacy. Miss Chu might just like you. Pei Lingce snorted coldly, turning his head to glare at me. Then she's only after his rank and title. I glared back at him. What nonsense. Wait. How would the old general know me? In this lifetime, I've never even set foot in the Marquis's mansion. Noticing my frown, the messenger bowed respectfully. 15 years ago, before Minister Chu fell from grace, he arranged a betrothal with the Marquis. Miss Chu likely remains unaware. My eyelids fluttered. Pei Lingce shoved the man out the door. I watched him silently. No wonder in my previous life, the Marquis's household didn't blame me for scheming to marry Pei Lingce. Instead, the Marquis and his wife cherished me like their own daughter. Pei Lingce urged his horse ahead, speaking in half-hearted bursts. I'll never marry you. Once we return to Wangjing, I'll sponsor your studies. If you truly can't pass the exams, I'll have my father buy you an official post. I fiercely lifted the curtain and waved the registration book in my hand. Do you think I'm you? He snorted coldly. You're already putting on airs? Don't read in the carriage, it'll make your eyes go blurry. I kicked Pei Lingce, tossed the book onto my bundle, and sat back down. Half a month after returning to Wangjing, the old Marquis submitted memorials daily, pleading for the emperor to permit women to take the imperial examinations. The Marquis attended the 100 Flowers banquet with the wives of powerful ministers every day, even gathering dozens of noble ladies to petition the emperor for this favor. Early one morning, Pei Lingce knocked on my door in the suburban village. The emperor has granted permission. I threw on clothes hastily and pulled open the wooden gate. When can I start attending the private academy? Pei Lingce swept me up in his arms, hoisting me onto his steed. He raised his whip. Hold on tight. I'm taking you straight to the princess's official academy. I tucked my disheveled hair behind my ears, feeling as if I were in a dream. Ever since my father fell from grace, I became the daughter of a disgraced official. From childhood in the music bureau to now studying alongside the princess. Gazing at Pei Lingce's broad back, I felt a sudden pang of unease and asked in a trembling voice, "What did you do?" He delivered me to the official academy overlooking the heart of the capital. Guards stood sentinel outside, and only a few noble ladies entered and exited carrying books. A carriage waited by the street. Pei Lingce ran over, pulled out a stack of books, and placed them in my hands. If you can't study, at least eat more. I'll pick you up after class. I glared at him, smoothed my robes, and walked inside with proper demeanor. That evening, Pei Lingce carried a cricket cage, crouching down to tease the insects with a small stick. I walked over and casually kicked him in the shins. Pei Lingce knelt on the ground, snapping his head up to glare at me. Yuruin. What the hell is wrong with you? I waved the books in my hand, raising an eyebrow. Master said I'm bright and have a natural aptitude for learning. He's even suggested to the officials that I become the 9th princess's tutor. Pei Lingce snorted softly, brushing dust off his knees. That 9th princess who loves pork knuckles? The emperor once cut off her pork knuckles to force her to study. Only then did she go to the tutoring school, crying her eyes out. I chuckled out loud. Pei Lingce's eyes lit up with renewed interest. He draped his heavy arm over my shoulder, linking arms with me. Want to hear more gossip? I'll tell you. The sun sank below the horizon. The walk home took forever. Only when the moon climbed above the treetops did we knock on the Marquisite's gates. Lady Ho wrung her handkerchief, tapping Pei Lingce's back with exasperation. I told you to bring the 8-man palanquin to fetch Yuruin from school. To show the other noble ladies she has backing. Why did you walk her home? Pei Lingce snorted, as if anyone has time to stare at that. Lady Ho delivered an even harder slap to his shoulder. Even when you beat a dog, you look at its owner. I smiled as I watched Pei Lingce take the scolding. Lady Ho hooked her arm through mine, pulling me into the main hall. Yuruin, I didn't mean you were the dog. It's just that Ace is too pure-hearted, he needs a little guidance. Dinner is ready, lily bulbs with peas, simmered fish soup, Buddhist-style vegetarian goose, crab roe tofu. All personally prepared by the Marquis. You'll love it. My mind went blank for a moment. Madame Ho murmured in my ear while the Marquis directed the maids to carry dishes into the hall. Pei Lingce, stubborn as ever, lifted his chin and strode inside. The daily routine repeated countless times in my past life was unfolding once more. I glanced at Pei Lingce, meeting his gaze just as he furrowed his brow. What are you looking at? Gritting my teeth, I couldn't resist accusing him first. Keep staring and I'll gouge your eyes out. Pei Lingce pointed a finger at me, only to have Lady Ho bend it backward. He whimpered in protest. After my rebirth, Pei Lingce had changed slightly. The Marquis ladled a bowl of soup for Lady Ho, set down his spoon, and fixed Pei Lingce with a stern gaze. There's unrest in the court. The western frontier has grown increasingly unstable. Pei Lingce drew a golden snake from his sleeve pocket. Lady Ho paled in shock. The Marquis unsheathed the battle spear from his back and pressed it against Pei Lingce's neck. This is utterly unacceptable. Not content with cockfighting and dog racing all day, now you dare bring such unlucky creatures as snakes into the manor. Noticing the snake's distended belly, I knelt before the Marquis and bowed. Your Excellency, please calm your anger. The golden snake on the young master's arm appears to have an anomaly in its belly. Pei Lingce's lips curved upward as he shot me a glance. Clever. I couldn't help but roll my eyes inwardly. The Marquis used his halberd to slit open the snake's belly. Inside, blood blurred around a delicate sandalwood box. Pei Lingce opened the box with his bare hands. Inside lay a sheet of oiled paper, its surface covered in deep crimson blood characters. Pei Lingce lifted his chin and looked at me. Father, this time we owe it all to Miss Yuruin. Her vain desire to elope with the young master of the He family to Jiangzhou territory allowed me to secretly locate the Qianrong tribe spy and retrieve the military secrets hidden within the snake's belly. Pei Lingce's eyes gleamed with triumph. Lady Ho tapped his forehead with her chopsticks. If you want credit, speak properly. With that unrefined manner of yours, what young lady would ever take notice of you? The Marquis's expression turned solemn as he pulled me up. Please forgive me, Miss Chu. My son is as dull as a dog. I must enter the palace tonight to see His Majesty. You and Lady Ho should eat first. Before exiting, the Marquis turned back. What would the lady and Miss Chu like to eat tomorrow? The market on East Street gathers peddlers. I'll bring you treats. Lately, a pearl peddler had appeared outside the tutoring school. He exchanged glances with the third princess, and they passed a tattered ancient scroll back and forth. I noticed blood-red pearls in the peddler's basket and wanted to buy some for Lady Ho's hairpin ornaments. Princess Jo hurriedly set down her spicy braised chicken feet, pulled me aside, and said with grave seriousness, "Miss Chu, what are you doing?" I was utterly confused. Princess Jo hinted frantically, "Father has no male heir. Third sister possesses both virtue and talent, renowned for her excellence." I nodded, "I know." Princess Jo, frustrated beyond words, shoved a handful of salted dried tofu at me. "If you're bored, chew on this. Don't go provoking third sister." My eyes widened. Princess Jo leaned close to my ear as we walked. "That peddler is third sister's most favored male companion. He used to be a young general, but unfortunately, he was wounded in the battlefield, down there." I covered my mouth. The ninth princess whispered softly, "The young general was unmatched in bravery when fighting the rebellious Juanrong tribes. But the rebels were vicious. They launched a midnight ambush and slaughtered the entire general's household. Only the young general survived. Third sister secretly brought him back to the mansion and even petitioned the emperor for a royal match." I turned to watch the man and third princess struggling in the distance. Ninth princess sighed deeply. "Alas, that man had already pledged his life to a peasant girl. They even had a young daughter together." I lowered my eyes. Ninth princess leaned closer, her voice hushed with caution. "Later, the peasant girl died, and their daughter drowned. The young general changed his face, disguised as a pearl peddler, and courted third sister daily. She tossed a dried bean curd into her mouth casually, common tricks. To noble ladies, it's like an ant shaking a tree. Everyone saw it, but pretended not to know and played along." I lowered my head. "Thank you for your guidance, princess." Princess Joseon laughed lightly. "I never said anything." The setting sun bled crimson, staining half the sky. Pei Lingce stood with arms crossed beside the low wall behind the pearl peddler, idly kicking pebbles. Spotting me, he leapt up and waved. The ninth princess, nibbling on osmanthus cake, chuckled softly. "The heir of the Pei household, father often speaks of him lately. He might just be the next great, battle-hardened general." I froze. Pei Lingce pulled out a handful of vibrant wildflowers. "Picked on my way to meet you." My mind was elsewhere. He waved the bouquet before my eyes, shaking it back and forth. "Did your tutor scold you? Or did the princess give you a hard time?" I pushed his flowers away. Pei Lingce let out an exclamation, his tall, sleek ponytail of jet black hair jerking violently. "Then why are you giving me that sour look?" With that, Pei Lingce lifted the flowers. "One of these wildflowers has a mild toxin. If you inhale its nectar, your arm will itch all night." I shot him a glare. Pei Lingce pouted, disappointed. "I was hoping to make you bet on which one was poisonous." I remained silent the entire journey. Pei Lingce snapped the stems of the wildflowers, following behind me and occasionally tucking one into my hair. When my hair was full of wildflowers, Pei Lingce clapped his hands. "You run, you're so stingy. Truth is, the blue ones are poisonous. But when you look in the bronze mirror back at the mansion, you won't find a single blue flower on your head." I picked out the blue ones myself, picking them out all the way because they itched me. "I only left you the good ones." With that, Pei Lingce hopped before me. "Your husband is a good man." He arched an eyebrow. "A very good man." I frowned. "We never married in this lifetime." Pei Lingce froze, then furrowed his brow deeply, scratching his head. "Close call, I almost forgot." He lowered his head, studying me intently. "Then why do you smile at me so many times each day? Your eyes shine so brightly, your dimples deepen, and you keep locking eyes with me. If my parents saw this, they'd try to marry us off again. I don't know what your goal is. Just rein it in." Pei Lingce looked at me solemnly. "Don't repeat past mistakes." I waved him off impatiently. "Goodness, I'm now well-read and destined for success. You're still slovenly and irresponsible. How could I ever consider you?" Pei Lingce scoffed lightly. "Who cares? Who needs it?" He suddenly leaped in front of me, leaning close with eyes sparkling. "Actually, the imperial court wants me to accompany my father to the battlefield for training." I froze, my expression darkening. "And what do you think?" Pei Lingce's eyes crinkled as he curved his lips. "Looking pretty serious?" Worried someone will bully you and I won't be able to stand up for you? Here's the deal, you write me a letter. The moment I see it, I'll sneak back. I glared at Pei Lingce. That's a death sentence. Pei Lingce's expression faltered slightly. Truth be told, my mother wants father to assign me as a kitchen soldier. I'd just cook in the rear, then come back after the war. He skipped forward, suddenly crouching by the wall. Pulling a dogtail grass blade from somewhere, he waved it to tease the cat raising its paw. I sighed, my frown deepening. Why, after living this life twice, is he still so stubborn? That day, after finishing my child's examination, I stepped outside to find Pei Lingce waiting in armor beyond the courtyard. The departing army was assembled and ready at the city gate. I hurried to Pei Lingce's side. You're going to desert before we even set off? Get back to your unit. Your actions will drag the Marquis down too. Pei Lingce broke into a trot toward the city gate, while I panted beside him. I can't stand your irresponsible attitude. Pei Lingce pulled out an exquisitely crafted miniature inkstone and pressed it into my palm. Use this ink to write me letters. I'll use it to write to you too. That way, no one can forge our handwriting to spread false messages. A step from the gate, Pei Lingce halted, his expression solemn. The emperor sought to marry the third princess to the marquisate. I refused. Without military merit in the next 2 years, my return to the capital is unlikely. Avoid making enemies. If you must vent your anger, wait for my return, I'll handle them for you. He adjusted his feathered cap and ran toward the advancing troops. The Marquis rode his steed, leading the procession out of the city gates. Back at the Marquis's residence, only the Marquis's wife sat by the carp pond, listlessly feeding the fish. Early the next morning, a servant delivered a letter. I opened it with puzzlement. A faint, exotic fragrance wafted from the paper. Sweeping, bold calligraphy met my eyes. Where is Xiaoling? Xiaoling is here. Yuruin, I've joined the army under a false name. From now on, when you write, address me only as Xiaoling. Letters that stand out too much risk being tampered with or read by treacherous hands. Henceforth, I shall pose as an ordinary kitchen soldier, writing to my sisters at home. Thus, should rogues seize the letter, it will be of little use. This is a test letter. If Yuren receives it, please burn it in the candle flame. Do not forget to keep an eye out for rare birds and beasts in the capital, the fiercer, the better. Upon my return, I shall collect them all into my possession. Frowning as I finished reading, a wave of frustration washed over me. I placed the letter in the flames and burned it. Lady Ho entered the side chamber, her eyes crinkling with a smile. The Ho residence feels so quiet these days. Eating alone holds no flavor, so I brought my meal to Miss Chu's quarters. I composed my expression and respectfully pulled out a wooden stool for Lady Ho. If you feel lonely, madam, you may send word to Yuruin. Yunrun would be delighted to keep you company. I turned and crouched before the chest in the corner, unlocking the lower copper latch to retrieve Pei Lingce's leaf-shaped token. Lately, with the Marquis's scrutiny tightening, Pei Lingce had searched many places but found none satisfactory. In the end, he stashed all his unsavory treasures here with me. He slipped the key into my palm with a furtive look. After the incident in my past life, you used the secret stash under the tree in the Wangjing courtyard to solve our urgent crisis. You must be quite skilled at hiding things. His eyes lingered with reluctance. These are all my treasures. Keep them safe for me. Frustrated beyond words, I kicked him out of the room and slammed the door shut. At that moment, the Marquis's wife's eyes lit up, then gradually dimmed. All Suer's things. I wonder if he's eating well and sleeping soundly in the army. I hear the rebellious Chuanrong tribes are rampant in the western frontier, quenching their thirst with human blood during meals. I blame not my son's dullness, but pray he lives as long as a tortoise. I opened the door and beckoned to 2 maidservants. Come play a few rounds of leaf cards with the mistress. Days passed one after another. Pei Lingce wrote me 3 letters. The western frontier is endless yellow sands, scorching gravel hot enough to fry eggs. There are oases in the desert, lizards thicker than my arm. A pity I can't bring one back to home mansion. My father didn't even acknowledge me when he saw me. I shot him a look, and he glared right back. The Chuanrong bandits launched a surprise attack, even conscripting us kitchen soldiers to the front lines. You run, I never receive your letters. Have you even replied? Our constant relocations make missed deliveries understandable. But you must write, what if I happen to receive one? The provincial exams are approaching. Did you pass the preliminary tests? Recently I saw Yuan, that scoundrel carried your portrait with him. I tore it to shreds. That ungrateful wretch deserves 50 military strokes. The moon rose high above the tower. I closed the window lattice, lit the lamp to extend the night, and picked up my brush to reply, later this month, the third princess will journey to reward the soldiers. I've asked her to take me along, perhaps we may meet then. Early the next morning, the servant delivered the letter to the inn. Before the Marquis's residence. Lady Ho, holding incense and candles, lifted the carriage curtain. Miss Chu, come with me to Lien Temple. We'll ask the abbot to consecrate a blessing plaque for the Marquis and Sewer. I nodded. At the inner courtyard of Luen Temple, beneath the wishing tree. Lady Ho linked her arm through mine, leaning close to whisper, don't you think the abbot looks barely over 20? Can we really trust him? Seated cross-legged before the altar table, the abbot's eyes remained tightly closed. Prayer beads hung from his hand as he murmured incantations. Not a word was comprehensible. Kneeling on the cushion, I bowed to him. Master Shuchuan, this humble maiden requests your blessing upon these 2 amulets. May they protect their wearers, granting them safety, smooth journeys, and triumphant homecomings. The beads in Shuchuan's hand snapped apart. They clattered onto the altar table. He slowly opened his eyes, an ill omen. I froze in shock. Madame Ho grabbed the hem of her skirt, stormed up the steps in long strides, and yanked Master Shuchuan by the collar of his monk's robe. I knew you were unreliable. My husband is peerless in wisdom and courage, victorious in countless battles, the foremost general of our dynasty. My son is pure of heart, good people are protected by heaven. Are you even a real abbot? I won't have you consecrate anything. Madame Ho grabbed my hand, her face flushed with fury. Let's go. Frowning, I met Shuchuan's gaze. He offered a faint smile, gesturing toward the divination tube on the table. Perhaps the angry patroness might draw a slip herself to see what the oracle says. I pulled Madame Ho back, leaning close to whisper in her ear. Before coming to Lien Temple, I saw the master's portrait. It's definitely him. Why not consult the oracle? We might find a way to resolve this. Madame Ho snorted lightly, sat down, and shook the tube vigorously. A single slip fell. Her trembling fingers handed it to Shuchuan. What does this mean? Shuchuan lowered his gaze. A breeze stirred the willow branches overhead. A leaf drifted down, brushing my eyelashes. I brushed it away. Shuchuan spoke, the lowest fortune. Life and death are unpredictable. Tears welled in Lady Ho's eyes as she pointed at me, forcing composure. Miss Chu, draw now. This time, draw the marriage fortune. If it's a good sign, it means Sewer will surely return. You were just talking nonsense earlier. I knelt before the altar table, shaking the bamboo tube. A top fortune fell out. Shuchuan glanced at the inscription and smiled. You share a karmic bond from a past life. I lifted my eyelids to look at him, then retreated behind the cushion and performed a deep kowtow. We humbly beg the master to consecrate these sacred objects. Yunrun is willing to donate 10 years' worth of temple offerings to Luen Temple. I raised 2 amulets above my head and respectfully presented them forward. Shuchuan gazed at the marriage tree in the corner, laden with red tokens, then plucked a purple willow branch. He chuckled softly. Take this purple willow branch, impervious to water and fire, incorruptible and indestructible, and tie it to him. Those destined to meet will find each other again. Madame Ho carefully tucked the consecrated amulets into her pocket. Now that Se has the purple willow branch, give both amulets to the Marquis. Double the blessings of peace and fortune. Passing the corner. Madame Ho first bowed twice before the wishing tree on one side, then pointed to the matchmaking tree on the other. When Sewer returns victorious, you must come and throw your matchmaking talismans too, hang them high. The third princess's procession set out to reward the 3 armies. I boarded the last carriage, carrying the candied fruits and rice cakes Lady Ho had personally prepared, along with several bundles of medicine bottles for treating bruises and contusions. Twice along the way, we encountered bandits, but the shadow guards concealed in the shadows swiftly emerged to rescue us. Half a month later, we arrived at Jiangzhou. The He clan, guardians of the city, welcomed us warmly. July's heavy rain fell warm on my arms. Floodwaters lapped through the main streets of Jiangzhou's city center. Children paddled with dippers, sitting in wooden tubs to catch fish. The 2,000 attendants accompanying the third princess all joined in the post-disaster drainage efforts. The rice cakes Lady Ho had made had begun to emit a sour, rancid smell. With a sorrowful expression, I picked out the rice cakes. A girl with a pale yellow silk ribbon in her hair emerged from the grass. There was actually a hidden dog hole in the corner of the wall. We stared at each other wide-eyed. "Miao-ching?" I murmured. The girl rushed over and covered my mouth. "Keep your voice down. This could get us beheaded." I snuck past the princess's guards to get here. Miao-ching's large, almond-shaped eyes sparkled as she looked at me. "Little Chu sister, I've missed you so much since we parted in Jiangzhou years ago." I handed Miao-ching a jar of candied fruit. She adored sweets. She was He Yuan's cousin. In my past life, the Chuanrong tribes routed our imperial army. He Yuan proclaimed himself regent prince and spent years driving the Chuanrong from our borders. Finally, he sent Miao-ching to the Chuanrong as a peace offering, turning swords into plowshares. In this life, Miao-ching and I had only met once. That year at the riverside pavilion in Jiangzhou, He Yuan used the pretext of a dance offering to pressure me into backing down, to abandon my ambitions for his legitimate wife's position. After leaving the banquet that night, a young girl ran up to He Yuan, arguing with him one-sidedly. On the day I departed Jiangzhou, Miao-ching gave me a bag of gold. "My cousin has been a single dog for 20 years, so he's no longer human. He's upset his sister-in-law. Please don't be angry, sister-in-law. I can tell he still cares deeply for you." Pei Lingce reined in his horse, fuming. "Let's go. Let's go." Miao-ching followed him tearfully to the city gate. "Don't leave, sister-in-law. I'll miss you." "Sister-in-law, my cousin hasn't smiled in years. I've only seen him truly laugh when he's with you." Pei Ling's whip cracked faster and faster. In the blink of an eye, Miao-ching was just a slender silhouette left standing at the city gate. Dark clouds hung low. Raindrops fell from the eaves. A torrential downpour poured down. Miao-ching gazed at the curtain of rain, then turned back to me, clasping my hand and frowning. "Sister Chu, last night I overheard the strategist in the mansion say General Pei is trapped at Human Pass." My eyes widened. "News from the front lines? Our imperial forces have been winning battle after battle. Did you mishear?" Miao-ching's cheeks flushed crimson with urgency. "I overheard it by chance outside my cousin's study. It can't be wrong. Sister Chu, you mustn't accompany the third princess to the front lines to reward the soldiers. If anything were to happen to him, my cousin would lose his deepest love." Amid the patter of rain, the rustle of swords being drawn echoed. The next instant, a cold, gleaming blade pressed against Miao-ching's throat. Shadow guards knocked her unconscious and dragged her away. The third princess emerged from the end of the corridor. As I prepared to kneel, she smiled and helped me to my feet. "Miss Chu, I need your help with something." Bamboo shadows swayed. The chamber was dim. The third princess handed me a cup of wine. Bubbles rose from the liquid, carrying a sour, fishy stench. Even blind, I could tell it was poisoned. The third princess smiled faintly. "Jiangzhou's resources are limited. We couldn't find suitable ingredients. Make do with this." I knelt on the floor. "Your Highness, speak freely. Yurun also has a request. If I can assist you, I shall spare no effort." The third princess chuckled softly. "You know Lord Huan, don't you?" I lowered my gaze. "Once a valiant young general, later your consort." The third princess snorted lightly. "Now he is dead. Before departing from Wangjing, I granted him freedom. Yet he went to a tombstone and slit his own throat." I fell silent. The third princess sighed deeply. "He didn't have to die, you know?" I respectfully raised my gaze. "Please enlighten me, Your Highness." Her eyes brimmed with moisture, a thread of resentment spilling from her gaze. How could 4,000 men stand against the Chuanrong tribe's 50,000 elite troops? In the final battle against the Chuanrong, Father promised to reinforce his army, yet diverted the reinforcements midway. Her eyes burned with unchecked fury as she shook my shoulders hoarsely. "I needed troops. The He clan, my mother's family, commanded 30,000 elite soldiers. Join forces with me to seize He Yuan's crane seal. I'll dispatch troops to aid General Pei. Whether for state affairs or family duty, you must help me obtain that seal. Pei Lingce and Marquis Pei are trapped at Human Pass, only I can save them. I froze in place. Shadow guards leapt from the shadows, pinned my shoulders, and forced poisoned wine down my throat. The metallic taste of blood filled my throat. The third princess wiped her face. Miss Chu, only I possess the antidote. Assist me, and I shall give it to you. I went to see He Yuan. 3 years had passed, his once silky black hair showed signs of coarseness. Back in that small courtyard outside Wangjing, I'd often climb the back mountain to gather soap berries, pound them into paste, and apply it to his jet black hair. Each time it dried in the sunlight, He Yuan's hair would gleam with a deep, lustrous sheen. After drinking the third princess's poisoned wine, my eyes were dark and puffy, my steps unsteady. He Yuan frowned, waving his hand to dismiss the attendant. What brings you here? I knelt with a thud at his feet, clutching his trouser leg. Master He, it's Yuan. When I came to Jiangzhou all those years ago, I was meant to marry you. Who knew that lecher Pei Lingce would kidnap me? I pinched myself, forcing tears to well. Princess San wants to avenge me and punish Pei Lingce properly, but we're short-handed. Please help us honest folk. He Yuan's frown deepened, his expression darkening. Marquis Pei and his heir are peerless warriors. They drove the rebellious Rong tribes beyond the western frontier. No reinforcements are needed. I froze, then vomited a pool of black blood. He Yuan's eyes widened in horror. He scooped me into his arms and rushed into the rain to find a physician. Cold sweat drenched my body as my voice trembled, but I drank poisoned wine. Without the crane token, I'll die. When I awoke, 7 days had passed. Miaoqing knelt by my bedside. I twitched a finger, and she snapped awake, clasping my hand. Sister Chu, you mustn't blame yourself. With enemy forces pressing our borders, the crane token was a hot potato for my cousin. We've merely given him a way out, handing the token to the third princess. I froze. He Gongzi gave the crane token to the third princess? Miaoqing nodded. After seeing you cough up blood that night, my cousin handed the token to the princess. As my sister-in-law, the He clan will surely protect you at all costs. My legs felt weak as I rose, gazing toward the maidservant outside the door. Change my clothes. Miaoqing hurried after me. Sister-in-law, my cousin had his reasons back then. The He clan was rife with strife. He feared dragging you into it, so he forced you away. From Jiangzhou to Human Pass, the carriage raced for a day and night. The road was lined with displaced people and wounded soldiers. I entered the pass clutching a bundle of preserved fruits and medicine jars. The guarding soldiers grinned, baring their teeth. The third princess arrived with reinforcements. Our troops chased those Chuanrong bandits away like a pack of dogs. Are you heading inland to deliver steamed buns and flowers for the celebrations too, young lady? I nodded with a smile. The soldier pointed south. Here, I'll show you the way. Follow this path, and you'll see the bravest cook among them. Another soldier sighed. They say when the commander fell, that cook charged out and severed the enemy's head. I froze in place. When I came to my senses, I stumbled up the carriage steps and shouted hoarsely to the driver, to the interior. The Marquis lay pale as ash within his coffin. I took out 2 amulets and placed them in the Marquis's palms. His knuckles were stiff, both hands still curled as if gripping a sword. Pei Lingce's ponytail hung askew and disheveled. His face was deathly pale as he clutched the Marquis's sword, leaning against the coffin with a vacant stare. My hands trembled as I placed a piece of candied fruit at his lips. He glanced at me faintly. I took his left hand and tied a purple willow branch around his wrist. The lady is waiting for us at home. Pei Lingce's eyes slowly regained focus, staring blankly at me. I promised Mother I'd bring Father home properly. My nose stung, my eyes welled up, and I fought to steady my trembling voice. I remember the nearest path. I'll lead you home. Outside the Marquis's residence. The Marquis's wife beamed, taking my arm. Miss Chu, wonderful news. You passed the autumn examinations and are now a successful candidate. You're qualified for positions like county magistrate or schoolmaster. Why haven't the Marquis and Sewer come in yet? What are they dawdling about outside? Tonight, The kitchen must prepare a grand feast to celebrate your success. And we must treat the Marquis and Sewer to a proper meal. What could they possibly eat out there? They must be starving. I froze in place. Pei Lingce strode through the gate, his gaze icy. Father won't be eating. Lady Ho's eyes widened in shock before she snapped back, slapping Pei Lingce hard. What unlucky words are those? The deep black coffin was carried into the Ho residence. Lady Ho's lips twisted into a twisted smile. Cecil, what is this? Such pranks aren't amusing. Mother truly is getting angry. Madame Ho collapsed onto the coffin, sobbing until she fainted. Late spring of the following year. Madame Ho emerged from the ancestral hall, setting down the sandalwood incense. She smiled gently at me. Heaven's mandarin ducks never fly alone, Earth's paulownia trees wait for each other to grow old. If Miss Chu has feelings for Sewer, go to the matchmaking tree at Luen Temple and pray for a bond. Leave Sewer a memory. This time, the third princess advised His Majesty to spare no effort in launching a campaign against the Chuanrong. We must drive the rebels from our realm once and for all. This battle is perilous. Sewer won't return home for 3 or 5 years. I draped a cloak over Lady Ho. That winter and spring, she grew exceedingly sensitive to the cold. Her temples, once dyed black with wood ash, were no longer meticulously tended, revealing patches of silver. The campaign loomed. I dragged Pei Lingce to Luen Temple to pray for blessings. He snorted indignantly. This won't do any good. I nudged his knee. Believe in the power of belief. You brute! Pei Lingce raised an eyebrow. Lord shouts you. How about this? If I return with glorious military achievements, I'll petition the Emperor to promote you exceptionally to Grand Tutor. Then you'll have endless opportunities to show off your erudition. I shot him a withering glance. Officials must rise step by step, that's the charm of it. What do you know? Today I'm a lowly minor official, tomorrow a mid-level minor official, and the day after, a major minor official. I grinned, my mind already scheming about the Chancellor's seat. The thought alone made me giddy. A biting spring wind swept through. Willow leaves drifted down. Master Shuchuan remained seated before his writing desk. Pei Lingce plopped down with a thud. Yuruin says you've got something special. I twisted his back, gritting my teeth. Show some respect to the master. Pei Lingce frowned and rubbed his back. Master Shuchuan smiled faintly. You and Miss Chu share a karmic bond from past lives. Why not cast a matchmaking plaque onto the tree? The higher it hangs, the deeper your connection. Pei Lingce examined the wooden plaque tied with red silk in his hand, then wrote something furtively behind my back. Instead of approaching the matchmaking tree, he walked to the wishing tree opposite and pretended to toss it upward. I jogged over, tiptoeing to snatch it. Let me see what you wrote. Pei Lingce raised an eyebrow, grinning smugly. My privacy. No peeking. I lowered my eyes, feigning hurt. Pei Lingce immediately panicked. I am not picking on you. Honestly, you don't like me anyway. My free-spirited ways don't match your driven nature. I just came here to scribble something for show, to satisfy my mother. Seizing his momentary lapse, I snatched the wooden plaque. The first side read, May all family wishes be fulfilled. Just as I turned to the second side, Pei Lingce frantically yanked it back and flung it forcefully toward the treetops. Shuchuan, fingering his prayer beads as he passed by, chuckled softly, hanging it so high. Clearly you two are eager to be together. Pei Lingce raised his claw to grab Master Shuchuan by the scruff, but I seized his waist, pinning him down firmly. Master Shuchuan scampered away in little steps. The official lay gravely ill in bed. The third princess assumed regency. On the day Pei Lingce departed, Lady Ho wept with tear-filled eyes. I heard that the eldest son of the He family once had a past with Miss Chu. You must return quickly, don't give some outsider the chance to strut around in front of her. Pei Lingce frowned, shooting a glance at the surrounding maidservants. Stop gossiping in front of my mother. I pointed at the purple willow branch on his wrist. Don't take it. Master Shuchuan personally blessed it. Pei Lingce scoffed. What's Master Shuchuan worth? I took a deep breath, deciding not to argue with him at this critical moment. That ink. Remember to use it to write letters and let me know you're safe. If I ever fall in love, I'll share it with you too. Pei Lingce snorted coldly. You? But if he turns out to be a faithless bastard, let me know. I'll beat him up for you. I tugged at his high ponytail and smacked his head with a fist. Pei Lingce clutched his head. I'm done talking. I'm leaving. Summer lotus blooms. The garden pond was filled with pure, delicate white lotuses in full bloom. Every morning and evening, when the sun wasn't too fierce, the Marquis's wife would crack melon seeds while listening to storytellers and admiring the lotuses. The Marquis planted them himself, jumping into the pond that year we married. Tonight, have the servant dig up a couple of lotus roots. We'll stew them with pork ribs for soup. That night, the third princess summoned me to the palace. The sovereign, gravely ill, passed away. White banners hung throughout the palace. Returning to the Marquis's residence at midnight, the lady host's personal maid's eyes were swollen red from weeping. Miss Chu, the lady has passed. I stumbled to the study, where a bowl of spilled lotus root soup lay on the white silk. Lady Ho lay with her eyes closed, heavy. The soup blurred the inked characters on the white silk. Heaven's mandarin ducks never fly apart, earth's paulownia trees wait together for old age. I held the Marquis's wife in my arms, wiping the tear streaks from her cheeks. The lady has reunited with the Marquis. Prepare for the funeral rites. 2 years passed, then 2 more. Time arrived at the moment when the Chuanrong tribes had shattered our dynasty in my previous life. This time, Pei Lingce possessed the advantage of foreknowledge. 10 consecutive victories greatly boosted the morale of the troops. The letters I sent him were occasionally answered with 1 or 2 replies during his journey. Where is Little Ling? Little Ling is here. Yuruin, this battle is just too damn hard. When I return, I must lay down my arms and return to farming. My cricket, my fierce dog, my soaring eagle, I miss you all so much. Here, there are only 2 whiskered cockroaches. Disgusting. I hear you've been promoted. You're no longer a lowly minor official, you're a mid-level official now. During the height of summer, mother's appetite wanes. You needn't dine with her, lest it spoil your own appetite. I'm truly amazed, those dog-grown scoundrels are attacking again. I'll stop writing here. In our most recent campaign, our dynasty achieved a resounding victory, annihilating the Dog-Rong tribe. The Dog-Rong have become a tributary state. The third princess summoned me to the palace and exceptionally promoted me to Grand Tutor. I hastily declined, this leapfrog promotion is far too abrupt, so many eyes are watching. The 9th princess munched on a chicken wing, Minister Xiao Chu, just accept it. His Majesty always thinks of you when there's something good. Serve our dynasty as a high official, advancing both career and ideals. How splendid! Trembling, I accepted the imperial decree. As I left the palace, the 9th princess chased after me, pressing a pristine peach into my hand. The province's growing lychees suffered disasters this year, none are available. But these peaches are delicious too. General Pei won't be returning anytime soon. His Majesty has stationed him at the frontier. He might not come back for years. You shouldn't wait for him. I bit into the peach flesh. Who said I was waiting for him? Princess Zhixiang smiled brightly, nudging my shoulder. The couples I approve of always turn out to be real, they just haven't made it public yet. You two are no exception. I know. Her expression turned sorrowful as she continued, but that young master from the He family isn't bad either. His Majesty granted him a noble title, and he's recently come to settle in the capital. I hear he's utterly devoted to you. Since General Pei can't return these years, why not enjoy yourself with young Master He first? If it doesn't work out, just dismiss him and find another. Her words grew increasingly absurd. I curtsied and hurriedly shook off the 9th princess. Pei Lingce's letters had slowed from monthly to quarterly. Half a year had now passed since the last one. Little Ling here. This year's lychees are sweet and delicious, have you tried them? I have so many here, I can't eat them all before they spoil. My fingers trembled. A servant arrived with a letter, banging a gong. Miss Chu. A letter from the general. Frowning, I tore open the envelope and held it close to my nose. The familiar scent of ink filled my nostrils. I picked up the original letter, bringing it close to my nose. Between the lines lingered a refined, exotic fragrance. The servant looked at me anxiously. Miss Chu, did I bring the wrong letter? I waved him off. No, you may leave. The servant closed the door. I frantically pulled open the sandalwood box holding the letters. A thick stack of fragrant paper spilled onto the floor. I held each one to my nose. The newest letter bore no special scent. The palace dispatched a caravan westward. I knelt all night before the hall of mental cultivation. The next morning, His Majesty passed by me. Out of respect for our former school ties, I grant your request. Do not do this again. Throughout the journey, I couldn't resist pulling back the carriage curtain to peer outside. The accompanying officials and merchants chatted and laughed. Just ahead is where General Pei utterly crushed the Rome bandits. We're going to pay our respects. Would Lord Chu like to step down and take a look? I nodded. My heart heavy, I followed them down. A young man, eyes gleaming, crouched beside a boulder, calling out, "Come see. Isn't this the priceless, incorruptible purple willow branch? Fortune's upon us." I stumbled forward. A fragment of purple willow was tied to a broken skeleton. Snatching it to my chest, I cried, "No one touches this. I know him. It's Pei Lingce." Sighs rippled through the crowd. How could it be the renowned General Pei? Lord Chu, be careful what you say, someone with ulterior motives might overhear. But the emperor rewarded all 3 armies except General Pei. Perhaps he truly met an untimely end? Rumor has it General Pei hasn't returned to the capital in years, not even to pay respects at his own mother's grave. This talk likely isn't without basis. 40 years passed. Amidst the fading lamplight, my eyes could no longer see clearly. Keep the lamps burning through the night. Light a few more candles. A pair of slender white hands drew near, and the youth's fair face appeared in the candlelight. I blinked in surprise, then smiled softly. "You're here again." The youth lifted his sparkling eyes. "The emperor sent me to attend to Minister Chu." I picked up another bamboo scroll from the table and slowly unfolded it. "I need no attendant. Leave." Tears fell from the youth's eyes. "Master Chu, please take pity on me. The 9th princess said I bear a resemblance to someone from your past and that you'd surely like me." I set down my brush, a smile curving my lips. "Then tell me what you like." The youth hesitated, then spoke uncertainly. "Truthfully, I dream of becoming a wandering knight, robbing from the rich to aid the poor. But my family's hardship forced my father to sell me to Nanfeng Pavilion for 5 taels of silver. I summoned my personal maid. Go fetch a sack of gold ingots for the young master." The youth stared at me blankly. I smiled. "Leave now. Take this money and pursue your dreams." He bowed his head heavily to me with a loud thud, then skipped away joyfully. The maid hesitated before speaking. "Your Excellency, there is one more matter. Lord, he lived alone his entire life. Now that he has passed away, his kin say he instructed his descendants before his final breath to bury him in the little courtyard of gazing at the capital, outside the city." I waved my hand. "Let Lord he be laid to rest in the Jiangzhou ancestral tomb. This matter is settled." The sun sank low in the west, its light fading. My breath grew weaker and weaker. The current imperial consort was the daughter of the 3rd princess. Her eunuch attendant came to the mansion to await orders. I opened my dim eyes and gazed toward the eastern suburbs. "Carry me to the courtyard in Wangjing." The eunuch nodded in response and ordered, "Do as Minister Chu says." I was very tired. I refused Yuan's suggestion to place the symbolic grave outside the Wangjing courtyard. Before my death, I returned alone to the Wangjing courtyard. In the dim sunset, I sat dozing on the steps. In a daze, I saw the young Pei Lingce. He idly fought crickets in his hands, sprawled casually on a stone bench. "Don't push me to take the imperial exams, and don't push me to become a great general. I just love lying comfortably at home. Sometimes I go to the moon-catching pavilion for some delicious food." "Why are you looking so unhappy?" He whipped his head around, frowning at me. I smiled at him, a mischievous thought stirring in my heart. "They all pick on me when you're not around." Pei Lingce panicked. "But I'm here. I've always been here. Who dares pick on you? Even if they're old and decrepit, I'd still jump up and beat them. Why are you acting so strange today? Are you trying to force me into being a general again? Playing some trick to deceive me?" I shook my head. no need. Things are just fine the way they are now. Pei Lingce looked suspicious, then exhaled in relief. Tell me again who's bullying you. I'll beat them until they're crawling on the ground. If you marry someone else and suffer wrongs, you can always come to me. I smiled. I won't marry anyone else. Pei Lingce froze, nearly stumbling. You wouldn't want to marry me? 45. Bonus chapter. Who hit my head? My temple throbbed as I looked up at the furious teacher, his beard bristling. His fingers curled in frustration as he snapped, Churuin. You come to class not to listen, but to sleep. Not only do you sleep, but you talk in your sleep. Get out and stand in the corner. I grabbed a book and headed out. The teacher yelled after me, tomorrow, I'll summon your parents for a lecture. Minister Chu is a man of integrity, yet you are unruly and disrespectful to your elders. You truly need proper discipline. I froze in place, turning stiffly. My parents are still alive? The 9th princess gaped, forgetting to chew the dried tofu in her mouth. Goodness. How dare you utter such treasonous words? She raised her thumb. Miss Chu, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. The tutor, furious, let out a sharp, explosive snarl. Class dismissed today. When your parents come to pick you up, they stay too. All 3 of you must finish writing your reflections before leaving. I laughed out loud in stunned surprise. Fine. The tutor collapsed onto the ground with a thud. The scenery around the academy felt familiar. The corridors, pavilions, and waterfront pavilions were identical to the place where I had once accompanied the princess in her studies during my previous life. I looked down at my vibrant, butterfly-patterned dress. I was only 18 or 19 now. Had I been reborn again? A splash echoed from the lake. Servants scrambled to pull Pei Lingce out of the water. His high ponytail was soaked, clinging to his neck. I rushed over and pulled Pei Lingce into my arms. He coughed violently twice, spitting out water. His eyes snapped open, pupils widening. Yuruin. Yuruin. It's Shaoling. Pei Lingce and I had been reborn yet again. The next day, he came to the Chu residence to propose. Lady Ho took my hand. Miss Chu and I hit it off immediately, as if we'd known each other for ages. The Lian temple outside the city is most efficacious. You and Suer should go there soon to personally inform the matchmaker of this marriage. Have him bind your red thread into iron wire, that would be best. Within the Rain Temple, beneath the marriage tree. The marriage plaque Pei Lingce and I had just written hadn't yet been tossed onto the treetops. A gentle breeze swept by, and an old marriage plaque fell into my palm. One side was weathered and sun-bleached, the characters faded beyond recognition. The other side was fresh, as if the ink had barely dried. May I and Yuruin remain together forever, bound by fate across 3 lifetimes. An abbot passed by, fingering his prayer beads. I tapped his shoulder. Master Shuchuan. Long time no see. His eyes held a gentle clarity as he smiled and bowed. This lay devotee, my name is Shuhai. I stood rooted to the spot. Shuhai offered a bracelet woven from purple willow branches. This monk has a younger brother who went missing in childhood, named Shuchuan. People say he has passed away, but I refuse to believe it. Those destined to meet will find each other again. Should you encounter him, I implore you to bring him to Luen Temple for our reunion. This bracelet is my gift to you. Pei Lingce and I nodded. Beyond love, all is emptiness. Those bound by fate will find each other, transcending time and space. The story concludes. Thank you for watching. The next chapter promises even greater excitement.